everyone, and welcome to our third episode of the Fit Executive Roundtable. I have the distinct honor in having our special guest, Tilcia Toledo, a special friend and former client with Fit Hidden Figure. Tilcia Toledo is a senior managing director in the financial service practice at FTI Consulting. She has extensive experience in investment banking, regulatory compliance, and consulting. Tilcia's worked with traditional banks, money services business, fintechs, and cryptocurrency companies who face regulatory scrutiny. She leads the delivery of financial crime compliance, risk assessments, and serve as a risk management subject matter expert on monitorships involving anti-money laundering and sanctions program development and remediation. I know that's a handful, but welcome, Tilcia. We are so happy to have you. How are you doing today?
Oh, thank you, Corrine. It's a pleasure to be here. Working with you has been just so fabulous. So I'm happy to share my experiences.
Yeah, so just for any of you who don't know my background, I spent about 20 years in investment banking, and I met Tilcia when I was in that career at, I think it was the Women in Housing and Finance organization, and I think you had a leadership role there. Are you still affiliated with them?
Yes, I'm still very much involved with women in housing and finance. At one point I was on the board, and I was also a treasurer on the
Mhm.
board. And you're correct. We met at an event that they had, and we just ended up talking and stayed in touch throughout all those years.
Yes, absolutely. And one of the things with being a female entrepreneur and shifting careers, when you have a true blue friend, when they support you when you make transitions into another career. And I'm so grateful that you saw me on the investment banking side and supported us on the fitness side of things. And here we are today after completing your 6-month program with us.
Yes, indeed. And, for me, I also knew, Corrine, that working with you meant, and knowing how data driven you are and how seriously you approach everything that you do, that your program was going to be different.
Yes.
That's good.
Hey.
Thank you. That was actually new to me. I had not realized that's where the connection came from. I thought it was just more of the New York finance, arena you know, that you were in. Did you go to North Carolina? Is that one of the women in housing finance? Was that in North Carolina?
No, no, no.
No,
The
or
Women
was
in
this
Housing
all
and
in New
Finance
York?
is based, the organization is based here in DC.
Okay, gotcha. Oh, I remember she would always go to these events and tell me about everyone she met. So I had not ever tied that together. So that's really cool. Um, well, fantastic. So, just kind of out of the gate, one of the things that we always like to ask everyone is, what were your goals? Why were you even looking for, a fitness change? What led you to, I mean, knowing Karina is one thing, but what led you to say, hey, I want to know more about how you can help me?
Sure. And I'll say that Karina and I had been talking, for a while as she was going through her journey. And I'm one of those people that, interestingly enough, I ended up losing weight during COVID. So while everybody was gaining weight, I was losing weight. But when things opened up, that's when I went a little bit off the rails. I think I was just so happy that everything was
Hmm.
open again. And it got to the point where I realized I need help and I wanted to do something different. I wasn't just looking to lose weight, I was also looking to build muscle. And so while I've worked out and I've had trainers in the past before, I've never been able to pull it all together and really be very thoughtful about how do you build muscle. And so because I've had so many conversations with Karine, like it was easy for me to go to her and say, okay, Karine, like I know I've heard about this. We've been talking about this for a long time. I'm ready.
Mhm.
Mm, that's good.
So, so it's so funny because when she was ready, right? And she got her DEXA scan and RMR and VO2. And I did this whole plan for her, the meal plan, the training program. And she looked at it and she was just like, what do you mean you want me to spend an hour and 40 minutes in the gym? Not happening. You're going to have to figure out how you're going to get these results. I'm giving you an hour. That's it. An hour. We can do 6 days a week, but an hour is all you got. Make it happen. Right. So it's interesting because Tilcia really challenged me in that area, because to that point, we were doing about an hour in strength training and about 40 minutes in cardio, and she was not having it. So I had to come up with a solution. And interestingly, Tilcia is not unique in that area, because busy executives don't have, an hour and 40 minutes, 2 hours to spend in the gym. So I had to really get my head down and crunch the numbers to figure out, okay, how are we going to get adequate enough strength training? Because as you said, she wants to build muscle. And then how are we going to get adequate amount of cardio to lose a body fat at the same time? And so we were able to get it done in just a 1 hour commitment a day. So thank you for being a pain in the butt, but also pro at the same time.
Kareem, I thought, yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. When I saw the amount of time, I was like, oh my God, I don't see how I can make this work being the busy professional that I am. And you know how much I travel, so on and so forth. And the challenge really was like, look, I am dedicated to this. I'm ready to do it, but I can only fit 1 hour of workout, right? And I also wanted to make sure that what we did was something that was going to be a life change, was something that I was going to be able to sustain, which I have been able to sustain, like even when I'm no longer a part of the program. And so that's why I knew that I could schedule an hour, block an hour. I'm the kind of person who likes to hit the gym in the morning. So I can control that time in the morning. In the evenings, so many different things happen. But, I appreciate the fact that you were willing to also work with me and make adjustments, right, to see how we can make it happen.
Right.
So
Well, and I think that's
one second. I just want to joke with her here, because one of the things in financial consulting, right, you got to be able to manage up, right? And set realistic expectations. When you go into an engagement, you're like, okay, this is going to be deliverable. This is deliverable by this time. And I think that Tilcia is very crafty and very good in her field. And she definitely managed up. She was just like, listen, this is not, don't expect this delivery from me. Like, this is what you need to expect. Okay. And I thought even her delivery was just, oh my gosh, so workplace. It was so like, and when she communicated in a way that made it clear that something had to shift, right? And
right.
just even your communication style and setting the right expectations, because one of the things with coaching is that if the work doesn't get done, then you're not going to get the results. But then if the coach has no idea as to, okay, what will it take for you, right? And this is just one example of many times during our journey together where you were very clear as to, what you needed. And that just speaks to your self-awareness, right? Your integrity, right? And also great communication skills. And I can see why you're so successful at what you do, because, you have those life skills, and that, you can't teach that. That comes naturally. And I appreciate that.
Well, I mean, I appreciated that you also gave me a safe space to really be able to fully communicate. I knew I was going to get those accountability emails and messages on a weekly basis. And I wanted to be very clear, like once, knowing that it was going to come, I normally would try to like preempt them and let you know, okay, here's what my schedule looks like for this week. Here's what's going to happen. And mind you, for me, the working out part was not that much of a challenge because I love working out, right? So I could always say, okay, I'm going to get, this amount of training in, so on and so forth. It was the nutrition part where I needed more hand holding, especially if I'm going to a specific restaurant. And I remember texting you and sending you like, here's the menu, what should I eat? Because a lot of times I wasn't sure what I should eat when I'm traveling. And I can hear you in my head sometimes still to this day, where a lot of times I didn't realize it and I did not admit it to myself, but I was a little bit afraid of carbs, right? Because I was used to just have a salad for lunch, right? And thinking about the fact that I'm doing something different. I'm not just looking to lose weight. I need to build muscle. How do you build muscle? I need to make sure I'm eating the right kind of carbs, and knowing what the right kind of carbs are, for me, was so critical in being able to achieve my goals.
Absolutely. And the protein as well.
Well, listen, protein is the name of the game, right? And so me getting my protein, and even now I'm mindful of the fact that, okay, I got to make sure I add, protein to every meal. Like every meal I eat has some kind of protein in it, right? And the water.
Yeah.
Water. Look, I have my water with me right now. Water.
Yeah.
So what I was going to ask is this is and you bring up two good points. You said something specific about I'm only going to give you this much time and you're managing up, right? But then you also said it's been sustainable. And I'm looking at even DEXA scan results, even after the program is over, you still get DEXA scan results and you still see, that you're maintaining even months and months and months afterwards. So that's one thing I wanted just to point out is ask, let the viewers know, like, what were your outcomes? What were the stats, the data at the point of when you exited the program, but where you're at currently. I think your last DEXA scan was in August, right? So I just, I'm looking at it, and Karina, I don't know if you just want to throw them out there. But I think if I'm looking at this correctly, as far as the last time, go
Let's
ahead.
that question.
Oh yeah.
What
Do you
Yeah,
know?
there are two things. One, I think initially you're focused on that number on the scale, right? I think we all are. And then you realize it's not just about the number on the scale. It's also about
Mm,
how you feel. I do tend to look at my fat-free weight right now. So I don't just look at my overall weight. I focus on my fat-free weight. And the reason why I started saying I can do an hour was because I knew that I was going to be able to maintain that over a long period of time.
mm,
So I do try to do something every day. It doesn't always work out. Sometimes I'm traveling and sometimes life gets in the way, but I do try to do something every day, whether it's a strength training, cardio. If I'm really busy, I'll just walk. I think walking is underestimated. So a lot of times I'll just walk, or I even have created like fake commutes. We all work from home. And sometimes I'll just do a fake commute to the metro as if I'm going into the office, even though I'm not, right? Just to be
that
able to
is
get my
so
steps in.
good.
Yeah. It's so funny you said that. I agree with you. Walking and getting in those steps are so critical. Sometimes I'm going someplace and Chris is like, can I give you a ride? I'm like, no, I want to take the metro. I want to get my steps. It happens all the time. And it might
Every day, actually. I'm like, you want to drive to the gym with me? No, I'll walk there and I'll meet you there. I'm like, okay, I'll see you in an hour, right? But she works on the metro the whole time, so it's like her office time is where she's responding to clients and she gets all her steps in, and I'm like, get to the gym, and she shows up and I'm already 30, 40 minutes into my workout. And but I mean, she definitely does. But I like that you call it a fake commute. I'm actually going to use that because we work from home technically, right? So it's like, honey, I'm going to do a fake commute. I'm just going to walk around the block to Harris Teeter and back, like a quarter mile, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to work in here like I did something to get to work. Um, that's fantastic. What were the results as far as like how much not weight, but how, because again, we don't focus on weight loss, we focus on transforming your body. Do you?
I mean, I definitely, build the muscle mass that I wanted. I still want a little bit more.
Mhm,
But I think that the teachings that I got, from the standpoint of doing the VO2 max and really understanding what my heart rate range is, right? And being focused on that when I work out. And, and looking at the graph, right? Like going from my from the low to the top and then going back and forth, right? So to make sure that I'm working out not just the hour, but also efficiently, right? I want to be
Hmm.
efficient with my workouts. My hour also includes the warm up, cool down, and stretching, right? So I'm really, truly just working out for like about 40, 45 minutes, right? And the heart rate monitor for me, and using the heart rate monitor because of the VO2 max information was a game changer. I've worked out with my heart rate monitor before, but I didn't realize the impact that it would have when I know the proper range for me. So that was one of the game changers. I lost the weight that I wanted to lose. I actually need to go shopping because I've continued to lose a little bit of weight even after the program. And, high class problems, I have to go shopping.
I love it. So the second thing I was just gonna mention, if I'm not mistaken, and correct me if I'm wrong, didn't you go to a restaurant and you were asking if you could have branzini?
Bronzino is my favorite thing.
Branzino.
Yes.
So you are forever in our date night, okay? Because Kareen says, Tilcia wants Branzino, but I need to go try it. So I had to find a restaurant here in DC. There's a Japanese restaurant over on Massachusetts Avenue that sells Branzino, and it was like it was a nice restaurant or whatever, great reviews. So we go there, and here comes this big fish, right? And she's like, now I can see why she loves the Branzino. And she got good DEXA scan result after having Branzino here in
Good.
DC. So it's like, all right. So we know now we can go to this Japanese restaurant over on Massachusetts Avenue because of one of your business trips and Branzino. I don't
Well,
know if you remember that, Kareem.
once Kareem was like, wait a minute, this salmon is a little bit too fatty. I was like, oh my God, don't take away my salmon. So then I was like, wait, what about the Branzino?
Yeah.
So
Uh,
for me, I had to do it when you said, so the thing about being a coach is I like to intro let the individual be an individual during the program. Means that it can't go exactly the way someone else's transformation went. So let the individuality comes out, right? So if you suggest something, I'm not going to just shut it down. I'm going to take time, do my research to see if this will work, right? I knew salmon was not going to work because it's high in fat, but then you said branzino, and honestly, I hadn't come across it. I really didn't. So I did some research on it. So when I did the research, I said, yes, you can go with it. Oh, and by the way, Chris, you got to take me out to go have branzino because I'm trying to eat branzino and I need to go eat branzino. So
market research.
market research, as you would put it. The funny part about the story, I felt so bad. We went to the restaurant, right? The branzino was excellent, but there was nothing. Chris doesn't eat seafood, so there was nothing else on the menu that Chris would enjoy but pizza. And the pizza was so lousy. Like I'm eating this nice, delicious branzino, enjoying every bit of it, and he has this like terrible pizza in front of him.
Oh no.
It's like for kids, like, it's like you bring your family there and they have chicken fingers or pizza for the children. And it's like,
Oh,
great, enjoy your Branzino.
I didn't realize you did not eat seafood. I don't think I knew that.
No,
No,
chicken, turkey, egg whites. Like I got all these results with no seafood. Um, just
yeah.
never, that's since I don't know, since I was like 10. Um,
Which goes to show that's another thing, right? Where that's one big difference between your transformation, Tilcia, and Chris's transformation, right? A lot of seafood was in your meals, but
Yes.
I did not have that as a tool when working with Chris, right? So you talk about sustainability, you gotta get creative with what will work, So I had to share that with you, but it was really funny. The server was looking at us cross-eyed, like, interesting couple.
yeah. And we had, it was like a working day. So we had our gym bags, like we had just come off the metro from workout. It's like, hey, it was like a brunch. Let's have some Branzino. And I'm like, okay. And we looked, we walk in there and they're like, okay, this is great. And I'm like, we're doing market research, right? Just sit us over here. You want water? It's always an awkward question. We go to a restaurant. Yeah, I'm sure you can bring us water if you want, because we got our water bottles. Um, so I just want to make sure, I brought that up because you're our Branzino forever and ever. You know what? Right on cue. I love it.
And
Um,
it's on the meal plan now for anyone
yeah,
that desires to have that. Thanks to
Oh,
you.
that travels, they're like, if it's got Branzino, then go ahead. And if you like that fish, you can have it while you're traveling. Um, Go ahead, Karina.
Yeah. So, just curious, Telsia, I know that you haven't been, big on just a scale, but like for some folks, dropped a few dress sizes. Can you say how many dress sizes you drop? You say you have to shop, what?
yeah. I've dropped, let me think for a moment. I've dropped about 3 to 4 dress sizes depending on the brand.
Designer. Yep. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think especially when it comes to like pants, forget it. I also had some clothes that were taken in, and now I'm looking at them like, oh my God, do I need to go back and get them taken in again? But no, the difference was substantial, and people have noticed, right? I mean, people have noticed, people have made comments, which I absolutely appreciate, and so yeah, no, it's really made a difference.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
That's
three to four dress
fantastic.
sizes is amazing. And I'm here looking at you made significant progress in that waist measurements as well. So, you have different tools. You have the DEXA scan, you have the VO2, you got waist measurements, and all of them work together. And there's so many different measures of success,
Right.
you
And
know.
I'll say I definitely feel stronger too, right? Because again, I'm doing the strength training that I want to do. I started using lower weights, right? I was using like 8s and 10s and 15s. Now
Mhm.
at this point, for a lot of my workouts, especially leg day, I love leg day personally. So for me, like leg day, I'm doing 25s and 30s on leg days.
Yes.
I'm also making sure that I'm keeping up and ramping up, right, in terms of the weight. And I feel that if I can bang out some reps really quickly and my heart rate still stays in the range, then I realize, okay, it's time for me to like level up and, either increase by 2.5 or by 5 just to see, what does my heart rate do?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's so
yeah.
good. I was gonna ask, how do you feel though?
I feel
When you
great.
came to us, you felt a certain way, but I feel like when we see you in our monthly health coaching calls, your spirit, like your tone, you just sound happier. Like you're just feeling better because when you don't have the visceral fat or you don't have the extra body fat, you tend to just it naturally overflows to everything in your life and you just feel better. Right. So I just, kind of give the like where you were. You said you lost weight when you came out of COVID, which is great, right? That's a big mental thing going to COVID, working from remote and all that. Um, Trying to compare how you felt coming into the program as a compared to how you feel now, being able to sustain it and like you have control and like you said, you know exactly when you're going to work out and how you're going to work out and how you're going to eat and what you're going to do. Like it seems like you're just doing our program in a light version. Is that
Yeah, I mean, I feel great overall. I mean, and I think that I was also doing other things also at the same time that I was doing the program. I would do things where for my rest days, for example, I was doing yoga. And I think that yoga for me was also helpful to just do the whole mind body connection. So I feel that connection so much more. Um, I am at the point where if I go 2 days without working out, my body's like, hello, hello, Tilcia over here. So I definitely have made it just part of my lifestyle. And I feel good when I go to the gym. I feel good when I eat the right foods. I remember when I was on the program and I would call Karine afterwards, like if I had deviated and I was like, Karine, I don't understand what's happening. Like, I'm traveling and I'm eating all this food, but I'm still hungry. And, Karine reminded me that I was used to eating like whole, healthy food, right? And the difference and how satiated you feel when you eat those kind of foods versus when you don't, right? So not only do I feel good and I feel stronger, but I have that connection with my body now, where like I'll realize, oh, like I need more of this. Oh, I didn't get enough protein. Like let me make sure I get my protein tomorrow. Let me make sure I drink enough water, right? Because my body will sense it.
Hmm.
You know,
That's so good.
I'm curious, Tilcia, because uh, what tools, because now you're consistent, we get the consistency down, but your job is demanding. There's how do you stay consistent for so long? Are there any tools that you that's your go-to that just helps to make sure that you are getting at least 3 to 4 exercises, done per week? What are your tools? What are your go-to tools? I'm curious.
Well, a couple of things. One, I mean, I always love working out. So that was always there's some people who like don't enjoy it. I actually really enjoy it.
Uh-huh.
So I program it. I put it on my calendar just like I put everything else. So it's in my calendar, right? I black out that time. If something else comes up, then I just know that I have to wake up a little bit earlier. Either
Mhm.
wake up a little bit earlier, or this is a day where I'm going to do my cardio workout, right? My cardio workouts are now a little bit shorter. So my cardio workouts, I worked out this morning. I did 30 minutes of cardio, right? I did, on top of that, I did a 5-minute warm up, 5-minute cool down, 5-minute stretch. So all in 45 minutes. But my cardio workout itself is now 30 minutes. But my number one tool is I schedule it. I schedule it like I schedule anything else. And I hold myself accountable to me, right?
Mhm.
So I do that. I think the other thing that is also really important is that I, because I feel like I need to do something every day, right? It doesn't always have to look the same way, right?
Mhm.
So, and everybody's different, right? It's funny because in my family, like, my brother and I, we do something every day. Like he has his thing, I have my thing, but we do something every day. And so because I know I need to do something every day, it's like, it's non-negotiable, right? Like I said, if I'm not at the gym, then I'm walking, but I'm trying to make sure that I do something every day.
Mhm.
As it relates to travel, at this point, my coworkers know me well enough and they know how much, health and fitness matters to me that sometimes I just have to make choices, right? So maybe I'm late for the breakfast because I'd rather work out. I do travel with my snacks. So I have, the protein bar that I like. I have the rice cakes that you introduced me to that I like. So I travel with my snacks. So that also makes it a little bit easier so that I'm not as tempted by other things.
Mhm.
I'll still look and I
Mhm.
may still dabble, but at least I have my healthy snacks to counteract.
So you know what?
Exactly right.
With your response to that question, I just want to leave the viewers with 3 critical cornerstones that you just laid out. One, to stay consistent, it has to be scheduled. It got to be on the calendar like any other meeting. Your executives, every minute of the day matters. So your training has to be scheduled, got to be on the calendar. 2, the next thing you talked about was it's a non-negotiable. It has to be a priority. It has to be something where you're like, no matter what, this is going to get done because this is a priority for me and it's a non-negotiable. That's a second cornerstone in terms of what you just mentioned. The third thing you mentioned has to do with boundaries, right? Where you said, well, my coworkers know me by now. They know, what you're going to eat and what you're going to spend your time and that kind of a thing. And, having that kind of supportive community around you, is what I'm saying, makes a difference, helping others to understand that, I'm on this journey. This is what I'm going to do. Expect my movements to shift a little bit, right? And, kudos to your colleagues for just allowing you to go on this journey and respecting those boundaries that, this is something that's important to you and that you're getting it done, and I think that is fantastic.
Yeah, and I do believe that as a high functioning professional and executive, health and fitness has to be part of the equation, right? And so for me, it was just really important to get it right now, because every year that I get older, it's going to get more and more challenging. And I have a vision of being that, like, that older, woman who is on the plane traveling, and most of the time somebody will help me with my bag. But if there's no one there, I can still figure out how to, like, take my luggage and get it up in that compartment.
Oh, there you go.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Well, Tilcia, this has been, a lot of insight just speaking to you. I just, your outlook on life and your positivity and your energy and your strong focus on results is so magnetic. It really is. And and I just love being around you. The time we spent together on your journey, really it challenged me, but it blessed me. It filled my heart, and just seeing you getting the results as just someone I genuinely care for. And it blessed me in so many different ways. So thank you so much for sharing a piece of your heart with us, not just on the journey, but on this program as well, to the listeners to hear as well. And I just want to give you an opportunity to give the viewers, one advice you would give anyone that is struggling with their health and fitness. What is the number one advice you would give them to get on track?
Sure. Well, first of all, I want to thank you and Chris, because both of you are so great at what you do. So thank you for that. I think my one bit of advice is start slow if you need to, right? I think that sometimes the change can be a lot. So to me, start slow. Walking is understated. So walk, walk, walk. Drink your water, right? If you're not drinking enough water, get your water in. And then you will start to naturally crowd other things out that are not healthy when you start doing those small things. So that's one. I will throw in a second one. I think identity is something that's really powerful, right? And there were times when, look, I get tired, I'm lying in bed, I'm like, oh, I really don't feel like it today, as much as I enjoy it, and I know it's good for me. And then I'll say to myself, well, what would an athlete do? An athlete is going to get up and get out of bed, right? So I think the mindset, there's a mind shift that I also needs to happen as well. Not only are you changing your body, but you're also changing the way you think.
And identifying as an athlete that you're not. Yep, I love that. I love it. It's interesting. I feel that way about when I'm discouraged. What would an Olympian do? Because I'm
Mm,
already an athlete, okay? But what would an elite athlete do? What would an Olympia level athlete do? So I have that conversation with myself. I do my best to dress like an Olympian, wear bags like an Olympian, train like an Olympian, and have that even before it becomes my actual reality, to identify with it first, and then the reality comes later. So that is a very good point, very insightful. So thank you so much for sharing. So thank you everyone for listening to our third episode of Fit Executive Roundtable. You also have an opportunity to book your free complimentary health breakthrough call with us using the QR code below. And again, thank you, Tilcia, for joining us. Thank you, Hubs, as always, to keep the conversation
Thanks,
going.
Tilcia.
And
Thank you.
until next time, see you.
All right.
my pleasure.
Bye.